Hello friends anglers, it's Sergey with you, and this is the YouTube channel Assistance TV. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 DIY projects for winter fishing. I hope you enjoy these DIY projects and that they help you catch as many fish as possible while winter fishing, and some of the DIY projects will be very useful and could save your life in case of danger on the ice. And the first thing we're going to make is a great 2-hook jig. A jig for perch. I took size 14 hooks from Owner. They're pretty small and will work best. How we make this jig: we take one hook, put it in downward. It turns out with a sting, we take the second hook and the second hook already with an eye. We pull it up and insert it with the point facing up. And now we need to press all of this together. We clamp our jigs in pliers and insert the second hook. And we clamp the whole thing down tightly. Now that we've assembled the jig, we're going to shape the body of the jig itself. For this we will need black thread, and we need to wrap it around here. So we just wrap it around, creating a sort of body, guys. Once we've assembled the body of our jig, we need to glue it all together using super glue. We take super glue and literally a few drops on our thread after our homemade butterfly has dried up. We got a little body, guys, that holds our structure so tightly. Now you can take some beads of any color, red, black, and attach them here. I still recommend you take red and black beads so that it turns out well. We have a butterfly, so what we are doing now is taking a bead and threading this bead onto our hook. But I don't know, guys, maybe a few pieces, one or maybe more or less. I think 2 beads will be enough. I think we ended up with a pretty cool double jig for perch. Now the question is, how do we secure these beads so they don't fall off? We can secure the beads using the shanks of the hooks, since we used very small hooks for our jig. Using a rubber band, we cut small pieces of the rubber bands. And now we thread the tiny edge of our rubber band through our sharpest hook. So the rubber band also acts as a small element, and it secures our beads. Well, that's it. In just a few minutes, we've assembled this little jig without bait. If you want, you can paint the weight any color. I still prefer to keep it this way, so the focus is purely on the black body and these little beads along with the tubing. And you guys, if you want, can paint the body any color you like. The next DIY project is a super sensitive one. A thin tip made from a car seal. I hope you all know what a seal is, right? It's a sealing ring that is inserted into various moving or rotating mechanisms to prevent oil or grease from leaking out. So here's our seal, and inside, as I mentioned, there's our spring. We carefully take it out from here using a nail or some other sharp object. Here's our little spring. In this case, my spring is currently covered in grease, so I'm going to go inside and clean it off from all this gunk. And as a result, guys, we got this cool spring. It's connected here. We just unfold it and that's it. We have a great super sensitive knot that can be adjusted. The spring itself is quite stiff. You see, it doesn't sag under its own weight, but the slightest touch will be clearly visible on it. Right now, I'm mounting it onto a winter fishing rod, and I'll show you what it looks like. In fact, here we have a winter fishing rod, and at the end, there's this little rubber bulb. You could say we're threading our tip. It fits perfectly snugly into this little bulb. Exactly what we need. Another great thing about this tip is that you don't have to thread the main line through the top or anything. You can just push it right into the tip itself. So any fishing line goes right into the tip itself, friends. It slides in without getting frayed because everything inside is snug. Alright, we're done. And it comes out on this side. That's why our setup will be as sensitive as possible, and even the slightest bites will be visible on our tip. If you really want, you can take some bright bead and put it on, or glue it onto our little nod. In this case, I have a red one. It fits snugly. Or you can use super glue to stick it on there. And it turns out, as I said, a cool nod made with your own hands. Guys, you often ask, Sergey, what kind of spinning rod do you have? And what kind of reel do you have? What camera are you using to film? And where can I buy it? Guys, I buy a lot of things on the e-catalog. Now I'm going to show you how it's done. For this, I go to the e-catalog. And now I'll check out what reels we have available. All right. E-catalog, I'm going to the fishing and tourism section. Let's check out the reels here. So in the selection of parameters, I will set the spool size less than 1,000. It is necessary that there be coils. Well, this is nothing special. Yes, it seems like we will look at the prices $989, $970, $1,200. What a difference in stores. So let's compare with some other, let's say, but the cheapest, if the difference I overpay. Indeed, in terms of reel quality, let's add it for comparison and see what the cheaper reel shows. One bearing, guys, compared to the expensive one. A gear ratio of 2. They have different capacities, different ones. Well, and the weight, you know, guys, I don't want to take a completely cheap reel. It seems to me that in winter this is only for one time, so I will still stop at this reel. And thanks to the e-catalog, I was able to choose everything. If you are interested, here is a link to the catalog in the description below this video. The next amazing tackle I want to tell you about, my friends, is the fishing rod tip. With the help of such a nod, you can see the slightest bite, and this nod is good because it compensates for the weight of your jig or your sinker on the bottom, and the fish is not so afraid when it bites. Indeed, this is a very cool thing. Let's do it with you as simply and as quickly as possible. Now we will make a crossbow nod. We will need steel wire, a fairly stiff rubber band, and some kind of tool so that it is convenient for us to bend our nod. First, we need to take a piece of wire about 30 centimeters long, as I mentioned. We need to straighten out this edge, guys, somewhere in the middle, and make a few bends. The first bend we make right here with you, like this. Opacha. We gotta fold 2 folds exactly. We will do it here, and guys, the width. This should be about the same width as your rubber band, since there are so many different rubber bands available on the market right now. So, guys, take the rubber bands you bought and make it about the width of the rubber band, maybe just a little bit smaller. A little bit more doesn't really matter, just make this bend. I can't tell you how many centimeters that is, because as I said, everyone has different rubber bands. So this is roughly what I ended up with. Now we need to lift this edge. So guys, we take it a few centimeters like this and lift it up. On one side, we lift it up to the same distance on the other side. So we've made these 2 bends. After that, we need to make a reverse bend right here. So we take it, hold it tightly, then we move back a few centimeters and bend it in the opposite direction. Our wire, this reverse bend, needs to be pressed tightly here so that it's snug. We do the same thing on the other side. We take it to the same distance and we press it down, both sides. We're making a small pinch like this. Well, is this what we got? And if you bent it down here, it should be attached to our fishing rod. Here's our winter fishing rod, guys. And we need to attach this whole thing here. We took some tape and we're wrapping it all up tightly. Once we've secured our setup to the rod, we can easily slide it into the fishing pole. So we end up with this thing. Now we need to take a heat shrink tube with a diameter that can fit it in twice. So here's our rubber band. You see, it fits in there perfectly. Just the right size for 2. This is the diameter that the heat shrink tube should be, and we need to make a hole in the middle. A small cut, so to speak, carefully. We cut this out. On one side and on the other side, buddy, opposite each other. Accordingly, here's our setup, here's our already cut heat shrink tube, and we're threading the rubber band through it, just like I said. Our rubber band is threaded in, and we put it on one side and the other side of our setup. Now we need to use a bobber for our setup. The nod can be either metal or lavsan. It should be quite stiff, guys. You shouldn't use one that's too soft. In my case, it's this kind of metal bobber. Now our task is to thread our bobber through this hole that we made so that it fits between the two rubber bands. It has to be right in between them, not on the side, but in between, and it came out on the other side. You and I need to adjust the crossbow nod so that our nod is so in this position. So for this, we take off one end of the rubber band and just make a few turns. So we twist it like this and put it back on. Now I've adjusted this tackle. Let's imagine that we have a jig under the water. When we're laying it out, the rubber band slightly compensates for the weight of the jig and the bobber rises. Also guys, if we went somewhere, we had a good layout, we will see such a picture. Just after we had the setup, the bobber is just standing there, raised up, and that's thanks to our rubber band. So we come in and realize that we need to either check the bait or something has happened. It has a very large amplitude of oscillations, as you understand. So even a small bite will be noticeable with such a high leverage. It's very visible, guys. Cool. Do you see? It's going to be really cool. If it bites downwards, we will see a downward bite. If it bites up, then we'll see a bite up. The ideal position of the Kif Carboli is when it's almost horizontal, but in this case, as it is now, and the jig is weighted like this, it's very easy to adjust. One turn, take it off, one turn, add it, or you can even adjust the length of the tip itself between the rubber bands. You see, though, it goes up and down. Everything has its pros and cons. Also with this tip, let's say it will be very difficult to play along with this nod, since it will either work on the layout or it will simply be there constantly. Guys, it will just be dangling like this for you, and you won't be able to play along with such a tip. Another big downside is the size when it's folded. This is the size. We can do it like this. It will get a little smaller, but still it won't take up much more space in our fishing bag, right? Either in the tackle box. The advantages of this nod are that any bite is visible too. It is adjusted quite quickly for, yes, absolutely. Indeed, definitely. Any jig, it can be adjusted for any jig. And when you're fishing in the wind, it doesn't trigger by itself. It pretty much stays in place. Thanks to the rubber band, the tip doesn't wobble. And can you fish in the wind with such a tip? Pretty calm, guys. Another huge plus is its sensitivity. As I told you, this tip has a very long lever, so it turns out to be a pretty big tip, right? And any bite will be visible. Even the smallest, tiniest bite will cause a big deviation in this tip. That's its advantage. If you're interested, go ahead. Recently, a lot of anglers, more and more people are switching for some reason on such a tip. The next DIY project is one that has puzzled many anglers. It's the old-fashioned underwater fishing rig, or potaika. As it's also called, it's made very, very simply, guys. In this case, there are many different things in the modern world. Let's say, like a PVC pipe, this is a plastic one, and with the help of such a pipe you can make many secret places. So I've cut a small piece about 8 centimeters long from this plastic tube. We're going to make a potaika together in just a few minutes. A potaika, that is an underwater fishing rig. This is the fishing rig that is placed in the hole. It's covered with snow on top, and no one among the fishermen, except for you, knows that you have a rig set up there for pike or large perch. First, we need to take our tube and make a hole in it, on the one hand, and on the other, to secure this secret place on the ice. And now, using a heated nail, we'll make the first hole. Both of you, here she is. Opposite, this hole. On the other side, we make exactly the same one. After we've made 2 holes here on the opposite side, it doesn't matter where. On one side, we make a small cut. Just a tiny one, guys. Road. After we have made a rough cut here, I recommend that you use a stationary knife to add a few more millimeters. This is done in order to... Then our little line would move better in there. Now, if you look closely, our cut has different diameters at the beginning and the end, so that the line gets held tightly here. In principle, ours is the same. It's ready, guys. We just need to equip it. Now, typically potaikas are equipped with fairly thick lines, with a diameter of 0.35 or 0.4. This is the kind of thick line that should be used. One end is tied to this hole with a good knot, like a clinch knot or something similar. And next, guys, we equip the potaika just like a regular fishing rig. For those who don't know, we take this here, a sliding weight, like this one, with a 2-cone shape, you could say. And then this free end of the line from our potaika. Once you've threaded it, the weight is attached to the leader with a small snap swivel. Now through these two upper holes you need to thread either a very thick line, or guys, it's better to use some good rope. Now my friends, the most interesting part. How does this potaker work? This ice fishing rig is a setup where you won't see the bite on the flag. This rig is set up discreetly. It's set up, guys, for the night for a few days. Then you just have to check it periodically. So you drill a hole, lower the rig under the ice so it doesn't freeze. So you have the leader, and you lower it down on the rope. It's under the ice. And on top, you just tie this rope to some stick and place it over the hole. So here you have the rig, the ice. Here above the ice is the fishing rig in the hole. And in the hole, you also have your treble hook. This is how it's done. This stick is covered with snow on top. And people walk by not seeing that there's actually some kind of rig set up there, like a fishing rig. At the moment of the pike's bite, the line gets caught. It's currently clamped, this thing here, in the cut where we made it. It turns out that the pike simply takes and reels in our line and swims wherever it wants. You come, take it, and check if there's anything there, or it's likely that it's already hooked itself. And just exhaust this free part. That's it, guys. The secret place is made, as you can see. It's very easy to make quite a lot of secret places in a few minutes, arrange them, and that's it. I will definitely be fishing with these gadgets, and I'll tell you all the details. I'll show you how to set it up correctly, how I'm going to do it, where I'm going to do it, and then in a few days we'll come back and check the results. Did we catch anything with these rigs? Well, for now it's a very effective rig. If you want, you can do it. I really recommend it. The only thing is, mark down somewhere on a piece of paper where you set them up, because you might come to the water and forget yourself. In what places did you set up these potakers? Friends? Guys, various bobbers, jigs, they're all great, but there's one DIY project that's really worth it, and every fisherman needs to make it. This is 100%. These are the rescue guys, or the hooks. This is the homemade product that will help us, God forbid, in an emergency if we fall through the ice. After all, it's quite difficult to get out of such a situation. With homemade rescue devices, you can take them, stab them into the ice, and slowly pull yourself out. Indeed, it's better to make rescue devices yourself. They're quite reliable and much better than some store-bought ones that break. In my opinion, it's best to make the rescue devices out of oak at the first strike. Here I have a nice oak stick, guys, and with this oak stick, we will do all of this together. This is a handle either from a broom or something else, I don't know. The main thing when choosing material for the rescue devices is to pick a strong wood, a durable type of wood, and it definitely has to be wood. It should be dry and not rotten. Right now the grip of my hand is just a little bit more than that. I'll make 2 pieces like this. So I'll take you on a jig and send you 2 pieces to make the mounts. So here are these 2 pieces. I got, guys, made of oak, and they will serve as the base for the rescue devices. We, of course, have a good nail, a thick, strong nail. If we just start hammering a nail into this handle right now, it could definitely split. We need to take a drill bit. That's a little smaller than the diameter of our nail, just a bit thinner, and drill a hole. And here, the hole is right in the middle, and then you just take the nail and hammer it in. With the help of a drill, I made a hole. Here and here, where we will hammer in the nails, and you can also take a smaller drill bit to make a hole. Here, for securing the rope so that the rescue devices are attached to each other. Now, guys, we can confidently take the hammer and drive our nail in here. We just take it and hammer it in. So, I hammered in 2 nails right here, and I ended up with this thing. Now we just need to take a hacksaw and cut off the head. We cut off the edge and we ended up with this thing, guys. Basically, you can just thread a rope through here and that's it, but it's blunt. It's just not sharp. So we take a file, a thing like that, and with this really cool tool, we sharpen it. Our nails to a point. That's how I managed to sharpen it quite well. I think it worked out. Saved the glasses, they're sharp, everything's cool. Now, as I said, you can thread the rope through this free end to connect our two rescue devices. So here are the rescue devices I made. I tied a rope to them. As you can see, here they are, guys, this cool thing now at the edge where our nails are. To avoid getting hurt, you can put on some kind of wire sheath or the same heat shrink tubing. We put heat shrink tubing on one end and also cut off the length we need and put it on the other end. Also heat shrink tubing. Here are our rescue devices. This is how they look now. They won't get poked. Now you can take it like this and put it in your pocket if necessary. You take it out and climb in. I recommend to you guys, never fall through. Be sure to check the ice with an ice pick and a drill. Don't go out on it. Especially the last ice is very dangerous. The first ice they say freezes just okay. The last one is very dangerous. And I recommend that you never use these rescue devices so that in your case you never have to use them just like that. But it's best to be insured, you know. As they say, God protects those who take care of themselves. We took the rescue devices and put them somewhere on ourselves. Again, where to put it? When we fall through the ice, it's panic. We're all in a panic. We don't know what to do, and we start grabbing with our hands and feet, flailing around and all that. So the rescue devices should always be on hand. It's best to have it in the same pocket, of course, if you have a chest pocket somewhere, like right here, so that it's here, because you won't be going underwater when you fall through. So it's better to have them somewhere around here, like wrap them around yourself, keep them close. The rescue devices have a pretty good handle. You can grab it well and climb up nicely. I hope they turned out to be quite good. Of course, you can put a metal ring on the edge here to prevent it from cracking under pressure, so to speak, but that would be considered an upgrade to these rescue devices. Yes, quickly and simply. I think this is a very straightforward and really good way to make these. Here are the rescue devices. Well, friends, these are some wonderful homemade products. In my opinion, we did a great job today. If you liked everything, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment. You might already have some of these homemade devices, or you might already be using them. Also, please write to me in the comments or send me a private message on VKontakte. The link to my VKontakte will be in the description below this video. What homemade devices should I make next time? Maybe you have a lot of ideas, or you know some clever DIY projects. Please share them with me. And in the next video, I will definitely showcase these DIY projects while mentioning the authorship. I'll say that this DIY project was sent to me by so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, for example. That's it, guys. I wish you all a great fishing trip, and may you have your rescue devices. They were never needed, but they were always in your inner pocket, just in case. Wishing you all the best, friends. Bye for now. This was Seryoga, YouTube channel Assistance TV. Check out our other videos. Well, I'm off to get ready for fishing.